how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
Um, a fair few years. This is definitely the game that got me into PC. Um,
Mhm.
I think like 3 or 4 years. There was definitely a period where I took a long break. And then got back into it about a year ago, and I've been playing pretty consistently since then.
Alrighty. And then let's say but you said consistently, so let's say like the past 2 weeks or so. How often have you been playing?
Definitely at least 2 to 3 games a day.
All right. And then and the final question for you is: do you have any questions for me before we begin?
I wasn't sure based off of your profile, what roles do you play?
Yeah, so I play pretty much everything. So I back in the day I started off playing support. I played support for like 2 years and then
Mhm.
I moved on to DPS and I played DPS for like a year and a half. And then at the moment I probably say I still enjoy DPS the most, but I've been mainly playing with friends. Like I quit the game like playing competitively a while
Mhm.
ago, so I mainly play with friends now and I've just been like flex filling, which just mainly puts me on tank. So I probably
Yeah.
say for the past couple of months I've been mainly playing tank now. But I've thousands of hours in DPS and support, and then a couple hundred hours in tank, and I peaked in 4400 on both DPS and support, and then tank I peaked 4200.
Very nice.
Right. So then why don't we just go ahead and get started? And I'm gonna be quiet here for a minute or so until I see something to talk about.
Yeah.
Right. Ball's not going to be someone you're going to want to occupy yourself with too much, as
Mhm.
he's going to be a very difficult target to kill, because of his health as well as how fast he is. So unless he's low or he's like right on top of you, if he's not pressuring you, don't really focus on him too much and just proceed to do something else. On top of that, probably just like plop a venom mine on top of where we're at, so that if ball does come on us, that helps us damage him a little bit faster. But besides that,
Mhm.
nothing else so far. All right, so issue here basically is the fact that we're positioning ourselves off on our own when we know that there's a ball he can get to us. So,
Yeah.
um, basically, when it comes to any single game that you're in, team comp dictates playstyle. So when our team comp is different or the enemy team comp is different, we're changing how we're playing accordingly. So the first thing we should probably be paying attention to each game is our team comp while we're in spawn. And then the second thing we're paying attention to is what is the enemy team composition, because that changes how
Mhm.
we're playing. Particularly, the thing that you should be paying attention to here is the fact that they have a ball and a tracer. That means that they have some characters who can contest us pretty easily, which means that we need to be aware. First off, being paying extra close attention and being aware of them, right? Because
Mhm.
here, if we're aware of the fact that the ball's on us, we're not going to be standing still and letting him get on us. And the second thing is that we're probably going to want to position with our team a little bit more. Um,
Yeah.
if we're off on our own up here, this makes it very easy for him to dive us and kill us because we're isolated from our team and it's hard for them to heal us and for us to get inside of them. If, for example, like we're inside of our team, then they can heal us a lot easier. And then, for example, on tanks, we can kind of like put ourselves inside their bodies, and it makes it very difficult for them to be able to hit us, and they can give us tanking as well. So basically, just want to change up our play style so that we're not off on our own when we know that there is a ball trying to kill us.
Yep, definitely.
Let's try that again.
Okay, good awareness of Tracer behind you. Make sure you're paying attention to your health and requesting healing when you're low or even when you're under pressure. That way your
Mhm.
supports know to turn around and look at you. It gives them an in-game audio cue to be able to find
Yep.
where you're at and locate you and heal you a lot faster and easier. So you're going to get healing faster when you request healing. So here when we see that we have a tracer contesting us, right? And we're low HP, we want to be requesting healing. And then when we see like we're 35 HP especially, we want to be requesting it, or yeah, 35, right?
Yep.
Now, what would you say your hero pool is?
Definitely Widow and Tracer are my
Mm.
strongest. I can play McCree pretty decently, but I just kind of find it hard
Alright.
to play that front line with the tanks and stuff. And then certain maps I can play Doomfist.
Alright, so here I'd probably say that McCree would probably work the best for the
Mhm.
composition that you're playing into. Widowmaker is really good on this point, but
Yeah.
against their particular composition, you're going to be a little bit extra pressured. So it's up to you. Widowmaker is naturally good because this is very wide out in the open, but if you're under a lot of pressure, a character like McCree could be very useful, or even Tracer, just because Tracer's not going to get dove by a ball or a enemy
Mhm.
Tracer, right? So that's just some options here to be thinking about.
Definitely, yeah.
As you can see that we're just constantly being
Just
pressured by these
harassed,
guys, yeah,
yeah.
the entire time. And that's just not giving us any time to work with. So we just want to do our best to kind of stick within our team, do our best to get away from them. But yeah, we're constantly not able to do anything. Okay, so we get stuck. Not much we can do about that.
Yeah, I would turn to look to just grapple at the Tracer, but I got hooked.
Very nice shot. I like the patience as well on the turn, that we weren't shooting immediately, but we were waiting for an opportunity. So that was really good.
No one can hide.
Okay, make sure that you're looking to, so Venomize mine wise, make sure we're looking to place Venomine on top of ourselves, especially when we know that we're gonna have people coming to us, right? That means that if Tracer, for example, like if we knew that we were peeking this corner, right, we can place Venomine right here. That means that when Tracer comes around the corner, Venomine hits her. That means that we can kill her pretty much twice as fast because we're
Mhm.
getting two different sources of damage, right? That basically pressures her and means that she might be forced to use recall, which gives you an it gives you basically an additional chance of survivability, right? It ups your survival rate here because you're forcing her to recall and get out. So that's just gonna keep us alive longer. So it's just good Venomine habits. To be honest, Venomine's not a very powerful ability, but it's still an ability
Yeah,
that we want to use and utilize rather than just not ever touching it.
yeah, definitely. I
So
forgot about it a lot.
yeah, just make sure we're just plopping it down right next to us. Besides that, as soon as we get this pick here on the Ash, and we see that see the Ana, we can't get her, and she's dead. We probably want to be rotating. You never want to stay on angles too long on Widowmaker,
Mhm.
especially when you know that you have things that can contest you. So if we have
Right.
free reign, stay here as long as you want. But because of the fact that they're on Ball and Tracer, we can expect that if we peek this side for too long, they're gonna come to get us, right? So as soon as
Mhm.
we get these two kills and we can no longer see anything, we probably want to grapple up top here, start running back to our team, reposition, get a different angle. But we kind of overstay our welcome. We kind of peek a little bit
No
more.
one can
We use our
hide
or
from
our
us.
sights, right? And that just means that Tracer can see us. Right, so it's just okay. So we barely got away, but it's just a little bit dangerous when we could have backed out there just a couple seconds earlier. Right, just
Yeah.
don't overstay your welcome. Make sure you're requesting healing again when you're low. Very close. Okay, try not to scope too much while there's a Tracer right on top of you. That makes it very, very easy for her to kill you. Right, we can see this from her perspective, how easy it is to melt a Widowmaker who's just scoped in on you. Right, so just we're full HP, and then all of a sudden it goes right, dead.
Yeah.
So when you know that you're going to be contested, try not to stay scoped in. That's why SMG, when something's right on top of you, SMGing is a good idea. That way we're not dying, because we've died like 4 times so far, and that's probably gonna be a very big thing right now. Want to make sure we're staying alive longer, because if that's gonna be continuing on for because wait, we died 1, 2, actually 3 times, I think, right?
I think that was third, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
once to the ball, once on the left, and then once right there.
yeah, exactly. Um, so yeah, when a lot of deaths are happening, that's usually gonna be a big problem. Deaths are very obviously big mistakes, as when we die, we can't do anything at all for whole 20 seconds, right? 10 seconds of respawn time, 10 seconds of walking back to the fight where we're just not able to do anything. And then on top of that also puts our team at a disadvantage. So it's not just neutral value, it's negative value, right? We're not able to do anything. We're also negatively impacting the fight. So we want to look to stay alive longer, right? A good example of this is, let's say, like, we're 3 minutes in and we've died 3 times. It's like, let's just say that's a 1 death a minute, right? 15 minutes in the game. Take out like 2 minutes for spawn times, right? So that's 13 deaths in a game, right? Just putting a random average number out there. That's a lot. In total, if we just did the math real quick, that's 13 times 20 times 20. I'm getting my calculator out. That's 260 divided by 60 per second. That means that you're spending roughly 4 minutes, right? 4.3, right? Minutes of time where you are doing absolutely nothing, right? So if we look to cut out deaths, which is something we can look to do pretty simply, because a lot of the times deaths are pretty apparent of what we did wrong. That's how we can look to vastly improve. So let's say we cut out 3 deaths from that, right? 3 deaths is an entire minute of time, right? That is an entire, because it's 20 seconds times 3, an entire minute of time that we're adding to our gameplay, right? We add in 6 deaths, right? Now it's an entire 2 minutes of time that we're adding to our gameplay. So just look to really cut out these deaths, because it is really important that we stay alive, because on top of us being able to do things, it's also just not fun to die, right? You're going to have a lot more fun if you're staying alive. So really look to focus on survivability, and that way you're able to do more things and survive more and have more of an impact, because we're not able to have an impact when we're dead. So here, rather than scoping, I mean, that's not that too. Here we just, like, as soon as we see that she blinks on us, we just want to unscope and just SMG. Is just a little bit delayed.
Yeah.
Alright, so we swapped to the Tracer, which honestly is not too bad of a decision. You know, just like we talked about before, it's honestly a pretty good decision. Okay, pre-aim where you know that people are at. This is a part of just good crosshair placement. Crosshair placement being, and we'll go more into this if I feel like we need to, but crosshair placement is placing your crosshair in the best place possible so that you can hit the easiest shots and the most shots. One part of crosshair placement is making sure that we're aiming where we know people are going to be. So for example here, when we kill the Zenyatta, right, we see he went left side. So when we're blinking through here, we should be blinking, and we could even turn, if we wanted to, we could turn left right now, blink, so that we're already looking straight at Zenyatta, right? Or we could blink and look at him instantaneously. But you'll notice here when we blink, it's going to be a little bit of a delayed look to the left. You're going to notice we come out and we look just a second afterwards, right? So just watch it real closely, and I don't want to slow it down to make it seem like extra long, but just watch it. Right, how we kind of come out and we're not already looking at him, which just means that the time to kill him is just that itsy little bit slower, which means that we have time to get slept and he gets away with 1 HP, right? So we just want to make sure that we're coming out here already looking in his direction if we know where he's at, right? That way we can hit the shot a lot easier. Okay, good recall. Okay, don't look to re-engage when we don't have abilities. Use your abilities as a little bit of an aggression meter. So there's a ton of stuff in the game that impacts your aggression, right? But some pretty immediate ones are, if we don't have health, if we don't have abilities, we cannot be aggressive. Here we duel a little bit, right? We duel, right? But now we don't have health. We're at 90 HP, and we have 1 single blink with no recall. Right, which means that we probably shouldn't be too aggressive. And they also, again, this is re-peeking the same angle where pretty much everyone on their team knows exactly where we are, right? Because we've been on the same angle for so long. So us coming out here, right, we get healed up, so this is good. Or actually, we don't get healed up. But now we're going in when we have 1 blink and no recall, right? So we just want to make sure that we're waiting here a little bit longer, right? If we waited like an extra 2 seconds, we would have recall. We would have 2 or 3 blinks, and we would have gotten the health pack. Exactly, and we'd be full HP, right? So that's just some stuff of, like, don't get aggressive when you don't have abilities, don't get aggressive when you don't have health, right? And then yet another death. So, you can look to that. That's a really easy way to self-improve at the game, and that's how a big way that I self-improved with myself. I never got coaching until I had already hit my peak, and I went up like
Mhm.
3,000 SR on my own, or something like that, like 2,800 SR on my own, or something like that. And basically, a lot of it comes down to what was my mistake. So death's big mistake. So we look at our death and we go, okay, what did I do wrong? Was I out of position? Was I too aggressive? Did I use my abilities wrong? Right, something. And then we go, okay, what could I have done instead? So if I was out of position, where could I have been positioning better? If I misused my abilities, how could I have used my abilities better? Right. So
Mhm.
we think, what could we have done better? And then thirdly is we look to apply that. Right. So we just want to look to self improve off of those deaths. That's how you can just look to get better. Okay, we are continuing a fight on. When this fight has been lost, make sure we're paying attention to kill feed. I think this is a pretty good time to go over it then. Basically, just make sure that you are paying attention to kill feed in the top right corner of your screen. This will give you another good, very, very good indication of your aggression, of when we should be playing aggressive, when we should be playing passive, and it's going to tell us when we are winning and losing fights. If our team is up 1 to 2 people, that is an advantage, right? We can play more aggressive when we have an advantage because they have less people to shoot at us, and they have less people to heal and less people to tank, right? So we can afford to play more aggressively and punish them, right? When we are up 2 to 3 people, that is pretty much a one fight. At that point, we want to no longer look to use no more ults, right? We also want to look to play super aggressive so that we can go in and stagger the enemy team and get kills. If we don't push aggressively, then that gives them time to regroup and kind of push back into us.
Mhm.
Now, this also goes the exact opposite way. When we are down 1 to 2 people, that is a disadvantage. That doesn't mean that we lost the fight. We can still fight it, but we just want to play more passive because we are losing the fight. When we're down 2 to 3, which is this instance right now, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right, versus 1, 2, 3. Right, this is a lost fight. 2 to 3 is down. 2 to 3 is a lost fight, and therefore we want to look to not use ults again, because if you use ults, it's just not going to do anything. And we want to look to get out if possible, or we want to, if we can't get out, we want to look to die. But that also means that we don't go back, we don't push into a fight where we've already lost the fight. If we're going in, which like we're walking back from spawn, and we can see while we're walking back from spawn, we can see the kill feed. We can watch while we're dead. We can spectate people. Where we can look at how many teammates we have alive through walls. If we see that we're down our whole team, we don't want to be going back in, because this is essentially walking into a fight where we've already lost it. Right? Oh snap! I didn't mean to. Where were we at? I didn't mean to. I accidentally clicked the button
Replay's
there. All
gonna
right.
be weird.
So yep. Then we just end up dying. It's not really gonna do very much for us because that's just gonna end up staggering ourselves. Sorry. Are you to clarify here? Are you familiar with the term stagger?
Yes.
Yep. So it just means that we waste time for our team, and as we're coming out here, we can see like we're coming out super, super, super far behind our team, and they're like
Mhm.
pushing in before we're even back. And that means that we waste time, and then we. Oh. Alright. Good recall. Watch spam jumping here. Now, this one
Yeah.
isn't. This one isn't going to be a big major thing. It's not going to get you up an entire rank, but it is just a bad habit to get rid of. And if you just are jump, 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 or if you're just holding down the button, that's going to make you a much easier target to headshot and to kill, especially for hit scan characters. So just watch you just holding it down.
Surrender to my will.
All right. Here were we trying to touch cart maybe? Let's see. So I think we should have kept on the Zenyatta, or we
Mhm.
at least should have picked out a different target. We kind of just like blinked to cart when I don't know if that was necessary. Um, Here we could have gone on the Zenyatta. We could also go on the Ashe. Ashe should probably be the best thing we could go on here, because Zen has Ana and Hog and Tracer next to him. Ashe is all off on her own, half HP, right? And we could in a Tracer v Ashe, Tracer has the clear advantage, right? Um,
Yeah.
so in this instance, we should probably be on the Ashe, but we kind of blinked the point and like get kind of lost. So I don't know if like right now we kind of have a clear objective in mind of like what we should be doing. So just make sure you're kind of you're not doing nothing, but you have a kind of plan in mind that we're going on this person. And then that just means that, like, if we're sitting in the middle, Tracer a lot of times likes to sit on the sides of fights, not in the middle of the fight, because that's where most of the spam damage is. So I just think that the positioning here is a little bit off. We don't want to be just sitting in the middle of the point. Okay, good shots. General mechanics, just as a quick, because we never went over this, but just as a quick strengths and weaknesses of what I'm seeing so far is general mechanics looking pretty solid. No problems there. I might at some point go over crosshair placement here, though I'm still trying to take a look at that. So far, it's looking pretty all right. Though we might go over it a little bit. I saw one single ult on Widow, and it looked fine, so I need to see more ults. Ability usage, I think, needs a little bit of work, because on Widowmaker we need to use a little bit more, and on Tracer, I think we need to just make sure we're not going in when we don't have them, and we're not kind of going blink, 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 right? And that we're holding on to them slightly more for when we need them. But I think where we're really getting into a lot of our problems are where in positioning and awareness of what's going on around us, and positioning and where we're standing. So those are looking like the two big ones so far, but we're looking to work on. So yeah, we'll continue on. Good tracking. All right, so we have a pulse bomb. When we're doing this flank around, we probably just use some blinks, because we actually, never mind. We just I missed the fact that we used blinks. Never mind. I'm blind. My head, for some reason, I watched that and thought that we just walked it. Right. Now this is fine, I think. Right now, we probably don't want to be. Pretty much our goal right here is to position ourselves in a good spot for next fight. Right. I think that us going top left is a good idea, but we also probably don't want to be engaging here. We want to do our best to like just stay in the spot for the next fight. I think okay, so we're going bottom right now. I think honestly this is fine what's happening so far, so let's just continue. We got shot, we got healed. We're gonna go up top right, look for a pulse. We just want to be careful because this is a pretty obvious angle, so we just want to be just slightly careful as we're coming up here. I like the crouch spams as well, that's really good. Alright, so now we're going to go over crosshair placement. 5, 20, 25.
Yeah. Looking right at our ankle.
Yep, exactly. Right. So even if you're familiar with this, we'll just review it real quick, just so you know, like, it's something that you need to work on a little bit. Right. Honestly, not too terrible. It's not the worst I've seen, but it's just something you want to look to get a little bit consistent with. Right. Basically, first big thing with crosshair placement is you want to place your crosshair at head level as often as you can. Right. Pretty much all times. Right. If we are aiming here or at their ankles, right, like we're talking about, that means we have to adjust up to the right or up to the left, which is a harder shot to hit. Headshots are obviously much better than hitting body shots, where you're doing a lot less damage, right? So it's going to be a lot harder of a shot to hit. It's more inaccurate. And when you're keeping across your head level, this means that all of your default shots are head level, whereas if you're aiming body level, all your default shots are just going bodies, right? So we just want to change it up so we're aiming at head level all the time. Same thing as we talked about before, we're also paying attention to where people are at. So we're, if we know someone's left side, we're pre-aiming head level to the left, right? Just right a little way from the doorway. So when they come out, it's very, very little adjustment because we're pre-aiming. We know he's on our left, so we're pre-aiming left side, already looking head level. So when we come out here, we're already looking at their head, right? Here we know he's on our left. He's sloped down a little bit because these guys are on a slope. So just like you would look down on a Torbjorn or you'd look up on a tank, you're looking down here so because they're a little bit down. Okay, so he's out here. So we're coming out already looking at that level so that it's easier shots, right? We blink down. Now we have to look up because we're on a neutral level with them, right? So we just want to pay attention to our crosshair, and we're making sure that we're keeping it at head level. Honestly, like I said, not the worst, but also not the best. So that's just something we want to look to work on and keep consistent. As right before we cut out, you saw that we were looking at our ankles. So
yeah, I definitely have the experience from like playing like CS.
Yep.
But it's a lot harder to transition that into a game like Overwatch.
Exactly. Yep. In CS, it's also a little bit more pronounced than in Overwatch. Of like you need to constantly be doing that, but in Overwatch, it's still a necessity, especially on hit scan characters and DPS, but and any characters that can hit headshots. All right, so where were we at? We were over here. No, we were
just before that.
Yeah, okay. So it's like right past this point.
Yeah, right here.
No, and I completely missed it because I tried to speed it up. I'm sorry. I'm getting us lost here. All right, so yeah, all right. So here we are. Sorry about that. All right, so we blink in, right, already looking at the ground, just aim head level. We could honestly possibly she's.
I'm thinking about it. We don't need the pulse there.
Exactly, right? She's just kind of standing still, saying, "Hey, Tracer, shoot me in the head." Right? We can just line up.
On Widow.
What do you say?
Just like that other Tracer had done to me on Widow.
Exactly, right? Whenever you have the opportunity on somebody who's just not moving, so this is characters that are scoped in, they're grabbed, they're shattered, they're slept, they're stunned, right? They're in nail, right? Anytime somebody can't move out of your shots, you want to just make sure you're intentionally, purposefully aiming in at their head. Because here, this could be such an easy one clip because she's not paying attention to us. We can walk up right next to her, aim at her head, and just get off a full load into her. That sounded wrong, but continuing on. Right, this is just a pretty easy kill. Now, the no problem with the pulse at all. It's just maybe not a situation where it was needed. Whereas we could pulse her, and then now they're all looking around. They're all turning around and looking at us, and then maybe we could pulse like the Ana instead or something like that. It just opens up for more options. Very nice. I like that subtle health pack grab. That implies very good. I guess very good as in I'm about to say good awareness, but then I was like, wait, that's the thing that we're working on a little bit here. So it implies at least there's some awareness there. So I like that. That's really good. So we kind of like we subtly grab the health pack to our left here, so that's nice. All right. All right. So here we probably wanted to like kind of reposition ourselves on the side or behind them. We kind of were on the front line too long. We also died when we had our blinks and recall, so that's always a mistake. But I'd probably say the biggest thing here was just the fact that we were unaware of the hog. So we just want to be aware of where the enemy team is at and who's looking at us, because that when we're unaware of our surroundings, right, we're unable to make good decisions. A lack of awareness means that we inherently cannot make good decisions. So, for example, here, if we see Hogs looking at us and Hog is running towards us and Hog looks like he's about to hook us, we can dodge with a blink, or we can recall, or we can do something, right? Yep. But if we don't see that happening, we're incapable of making a good decision to blink away, right? So here's basically the death happens as a lack of awareness of the hog. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to where are the enemy players at, making sure we're being aware of them. All right. I got confused there for a second because I thought I got mixed up with thinking we were blue for a second. Ooh, that was really satisfying damage. Okay, so you kind of have like some over blinking tracer syndrome that happens a lot when I coach people. Of you just like to blink when blinks aren't necessary, and then that just wastes them really, really fast. So you can kind of see it when we come in here, right? We can kind of watch it real quick. When and how are we using blinks? So we'll slow it down. Right, as we're coming in. So first off, we blink. This is fine. I maybe would have approached from like top right or something like that. That way we can maybe like recall the high ground. But honestly, not too bad here. We're approaching Liana. She's out of position, so this is really good. Right, now, next blink comes in. That's fine because we heard Zen right next to us. That dodged out some damage. that's fine. Blinks, we want to use blinks for one of two things: to dodge out damage and stuns, or to dodge or to use it for mobility, right? So that was fine. But we're about to blink in again here when we're out of blink. So actually, we're trying to get past the shield here, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then do we use it again in a second here? Actually, we don't. So actually, I'm gonna recall what I said. They actually all looked fine. It just looked very fast paced there. The only thing
I
yeah,
think
honestly,
I went aired because she was so low. I was just
yeah,
trying to secure the. Cause I knew I had
honestly,
recall to get it.
looking back on it slower didn't look nearly as bad as when we were looking at it fast paced. So, no problem there, honestly. So my bad for the misunderstanding.
30 seconds remaining.
Nice subtle grab the health pack again. Alright. Very, very nice pulse bomb. Honestly, ultimate's looking those past two pulses have looked pretty solid, both with the timing and also with the placement. So honestly, ult's looking pretty solid now as well. So main things that we're looking at are a little bit of consistency with mechanics, a little bit of consistency with abilities, and then our awareness and our positioning being the two leaders right now, and then mixed in with those two survivability, right? Because those two kind of have survivability as a result. When we have good awareness and good positioning, we have good survivability. Right, we'll ignore you whiffing all those shots.
Thank you.
The payload has reached the checkpoint.
Okay, now there you could see kind of some overblinking syndrome, a little bit. So we blink and then we accidentally blink into the wall, and then we're at 0 blinks. This is where like basically you want to kind of have the pacing where you want blinks for the fight, right? You want blinks when you're fighting somebody. So when we're just walking somewhere, we don't have blinks, this is where we're recharging our blinks. So if we're trying to, for example, here it looks like we're trying to get behind them, we can just walk this while we're recharging so that by the time we get behind them here, we have our blinks available again, right? So that we can use them when they start shooting at us. So but here instead we blink immediately again. So now we're at 0 blinks. Right now we see Zarya, so we're playing a little bit passive, but now we're out of blinks and we have to use it again, right? So that's another wasted blink because of the previous one, right? So it's just a blink management again, and just making sure we're not going blink, 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 but we're going when we need them and we're in fights, we're blinking around. But then when we're out of fights, we're letting them recharge so that when we're back in fights again, we have them available.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Honestly, good positioning here. I like that we're trying to take the high ground. Though it seems like every time we have taken high grounds, we've kind of given it up immediately. So the only thing I would say would be like try to keep it a little bit longer. So for example, like if we take the high ground advantage and we're here, we can drop on somebody, but then recall back up to the high ground, then stay and poke here for a little bit more. Very well played. No problems there at all. Good mechanics, good recalling back up the high ground. I like that we're not immediately re-engaging here, we're just poking and poking. Target priority as well has seemed pretty decent. We haven't spent a ton of time on bad targets, such as like, I sometimes when I talk about targets, I have to say like, okay, don't just shoot at tanks over and over again, you want to be on DPS and supports. Good target priority. And another good pulse. Alright, that was just a good fight in general. Good positioning, good pulse, good mechanics, we killed stuff. Alright, it's a good habit to the fact that we're surprised by the Sombra here. At least I think that this sounds like a surprise. Just make sure we're pressing tab in between fights. That's a good habit to get into, is just tab in between every single fight. This gets us good awareness of what comp did they swap any characters? Did we swap any characters? We talked about at the very beginning of the game how team comp dictates play style. So paying attention to team comp swaps is a good important thing to pay attention to. On top of that, we can look at what ults our team has, and that can give us a good awareness uh, of the awareness, right, of what's going on around us. And then you can get into some more complex macro stuff. But to be honest, that's a little bit out of the plat range. That'd be more like if you're like a diamond or above player, I'd go into ult management and planning,
Yeah.
tracking. Right. Right. Watch the blinks again. You can just kind of see the slight little mismanages in blinks just results in us wasting them over and over again repeatedly. So we just want to make sure we're kind of looking to use them a little bit better, because you can see here when we blink, we go blink, blink, and then the third blink probably isn't necessary here because about what we ended up here. Or let's see when we just used it here. Right, we ended up pretty much with our team, and that third blink maybe wasn't even necessary because we were just gonna be with our team anyways. Right, so blink, blink, right, second blink leaves us off right here. No one's really here to shoot at us. Honestly, I don't think the third blink's necessary, but so just something to keep an eye out for. Right, now we get back to our team. This is good. Good awareness of checking for stuff.
10 seconds remaining. The payload is approaching its destination.
Ever get that feeling of deja vu?
All right. I want to rewatch this fight with the McCree real quick. Here I'd probably say that we're poking from a little too far away, which means that we aren't really doing damage. You want to be a little bit closer to him, but then we just kind of have to blink, get out of his flashbang. Here we have all of our abilities, right? We have 3 blinks and a recall, so we can probably do is like blink in close to him, right? And then immediately blink to the side. This baits out his flashbang, and then now he doesn't have flashbang. And then you're also within close range, which makes it very easy for you to kill him. We just maybe want to take this a little bit faster paced because we kind of approach this fight slowly, which means
Yeah.
that in this time our entire team is dying and we're losing the fight. So that's the only thing I'll maybe say about this is just take the fight a little bit faster because we're approaching this fight a little bit too slowly where we poke and we poke and then we poke and then we call him finally, right? And then now the fight's done. So it's just a really long fight, and then by that point we lost the fight.
Yeah.
Right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming. Stop the payload.
You won't see me come.
Right. Probably not the place where we're gonna want to be initiating, or getting super aggressive. This is we can maybe like poke, like so. For example, like we can just like peek this top right and just go shoot, shoot, shoot. But I don't think we should be getting aggressive, super aggressive here because of the fact that our team is not a distraction at all, right? When we go in on our own, right, that means that their entire team can turn around and then they can have Ana looking at you, Hog looking at you, and literally everybody looking at you. They can have 6 people turn and look at you, which means that we just insta die because we have so much pressure on us. If, for
Yeah.
example, we get more aggressive when our team is distracting them, then now this is better for us because they can't put as much dedication into us, and they can't put as much pressure into us, and we have a lot more survivability because they maybe only have 1 or 2 things looking at us. This also makes it better on our team because we can take some attention away from our team, and it means that our team can get away with more. But here, this is just kind of not timed well, so we're just playing too aggressive right off the start. If we wanted, we could maybe poke a little bit, or we could like look too hard engaged like on the Widowmaker, who's a little bit off more on our own. But I don't. Can we? We could probably get up to that high ground if we like triple blinked
blink.
across. Yeah. Especially if you like jumped up on this railing here. But besides that, just a little bit too aggressive right off the bat when we probably should have just maybe poked a tiny little bit and that's it. Alright. So team has lost the fight. Looks like we are maybe aware of that because they're poking a little bit. Okay. If you see Widowmaker and Widowmaker does not see you, maybe give it a second before you're engaging. Like here, we can see maybe she doesn't see us. Again, when we're I think that we need to get a little bit better with knowing where blinks are going because there's a few times where like we'll blink in, but we don't already have our crosshair lined up with people. Like here, we kind of blink in and we are not already on top of the Widowmaker. So I think we just need to get a little bit more familiar with like where our blinks going and keeping our crosshair on the person as we're blinking in. Just make sure practicing that and paying attention to it.
Yeah, what would be the best way to practice that? Is just
So
repetition.
yeah, repetition, but then also in general, it's the same way that you'd look to practice at anything that we're looking to talk about, right? And especially some of the more vague things that we're talking about, like awareness, where it might not be so obvious on the surface about how you look to work on it. Is you want to make sure that you're really, really focusing in on the particular topic while you're playing. If you are autopiloting or you're not really, if you're just like focusing on winning the game and you're not focusing on improvement, that's the easiest way to stagnate and not improve at the game. How you do improve is you look to focus in on a particular area. And for example, let's just take, I guess, let's take awareness as one, right? And we think in our head, right? Awareness, 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 right? So we're constantly giving ourselves reminders. We're putting a lot of brain power, attention, and effort into it, and therefore our awareness is going to be a little bit higher because we're going to be looking around a bit more, right? And then if we keep that up, it starts to form as a habit, and as it starts to form as a habit, we no longer have to put that much dedication and that give ourselves that many reminders, which means that we can look to put that same amount of effort into a different thing, right? And we can look to move on. Now, you're not going to want to. We talked about a lot of different things. Like you're not going to want to do that with all 20 of the things we talked about because that's going to get overwhelming. But you do want to focus on like one category or 1 to 3 kind of sub things. So if you're looking to improve at something like this, you can practice that. I'd probably say it's a good way to practice that is to like while you're in queues for games is to play like deathmatch or a good custom game that has you fighting against people. And you can practice just really focus on your mechanics as you play those is making sure you're shooting at things correctly, making sure that your blinks are going all right. But other than that, repetition, make sure you're focusing on it, and you can practice that in the training range or in while you're in queue for stuff, right?
Just in time.
All right, so pretty easy kill that just gets away because we messed up some more mechanics there and our cross replacement. All right. All right, so as we're approaching here, we want to be taking cover usage. So first off, when we're blinking here, we need to blink over to these cars. So we probably want to make the assumption, and I think I saw this us doing this before, but anytime we're crossing a wide open area, right, this is bad positioning. Where we're standing right now is bad positioning because we can get shot at very easily. When we're right here, right, in half of a second we can go like this, and they can no longer see us. Therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. So when we're trying to just get across this wide open area real quick, we want to blink across it so that instead of being out in the open for a super long time and walking it, we're just instantly crossing it, which means that we don't get shot at and we're not blinking in to the Widowmaker with how much HP, right? We go and engage the Widowmaker at 50 HP, right?
Yeah.
Let's try that again.
Okay, so yeah, just blink to get to the cover of there. Sights that on the Widowmaker. Right, that blink probably wasn't necessary. as we kind of messed it up, and we also again didn't really have our crosshair on her as we blinked around the corner. So we just want to pay attention to like getting a crosshair on top of her while we're blinking. So here we blink and then we look at where we have a crosshair at, right? So we just want to make
Mhm.
sure that's aligned with her, and then we recall, which is fine,
Let's try that again.
and then we blink over to grab that, so that's fine. Yeah, just took a lot of initial damage is probably the big thing there.
Yeah.
And then some more missing shots. It seems in general like our mechanics are a little bit inconsistent. Like half the time we're hitting stuff perfectly, perfect tracking. But then the other half of the time we're whiffing every single shot. So that comes down to getting better mechanics, comes down to focusing on it, crosshair placement, and making sure that you're practicing it.
Personne n'échappe à mon regard.
Play place your Venom Mine on yourself. That means if Lucio comes to you. Alright, so here, little bit out in the open. Right, look at how many people have line of sight on you. Widow, Tree, Hog, Lucio. Right, that means that we're peeking the window a little bit too out in the open. On top of that, pay attention to where your team's at. Right, we're peeking when none of our team is back yet, so we're being a little bit too aggressive. Where again, we are able to get shot at by everyone on their team. So if we're peeking at all, it needs to be the tiniest little sliver of a peek where only like one person can see us, right? So
Mhm.
there's a difference between like so when you're trying to basically there's a good way to use high ground, there's a bad way to use high ground. If we're standing right here, 1, 2, 3, 4 people can see us. If we back up away from the ledge, now only one person can see us, right? So we want to manipulate the cover right below us so that a limited number of people can see us, right? So back away from the ledge, crouch, right? Just make sure that not everyone on the map can see us. On top of that, place a meta mine next to you so Lucio catches it, and then use your grapple to get away when you feel pressured. So a lot of tiny things that adds up to another death, which means another 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Right there, we probably should have expected her to push us when we were like 1 HP.
Yeah.
We can also like hear her running after us and shooting, so I think there was just kind of a awareness thing or misunderstanding of the situation. Here, in no way should we engage because we have 3 people all the way over there, and if we engage, we're dead. So if anything, we're just kind of chilling here for the next 20 seconds or 10 seconds. But okay, so we start engaging, which means that we take we're going to start getting shot at, and results in us potentially getting killed. In general, there, our entire team just did a big oopsie, right? We should be
Yeah.
paying attention to where the rest of our team's at, right? That's a good idea. Like, it's a good habit to get into of, like, anytime you lose a point is check look behind you and go, how many people do we have with us, right? Here, you and your tanks push forwards, which means that it was a 3v6, which, like we talked about, is pretty much going, hey, let's go into a fight that we already lost, right? And
Yeah.
that means that we lose the fight because we lost already, and then now we're engaging again when we're down 2 people. You get hooked, watch the hook, blink away from it, pay attention to the hog.
Back to work.
Right, probably should be coming out left side because there's a lot more cover to use. Here we're coming out and it's like instant enemies. Left side we come out and we have like a little bit more. We can go high ground, we can go left side. We have a room on here. We have a health pack over here. Right side, like you come out here and there's not really much to work with. So probably should be looking to come out left side. Because you cross over to the left side anyways.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
so it's
all.
just come out left side anyway to start off. Okay. Don't feel like you have to blink straight into people to do damage, like, especially like when you're pretty close here to this area where you can do pretty much max damage from this distance. But we kind of blink straight into her face, and I don't know if we needed to. I guess maybe we're trying to catch the beat. That's maybe something we're trying to do. Yeah. I think we're trying to get aggressive while we have the beat available. And now we're out of blink. We're completely out of blinks. Probably don't want to be going on a flank because we heard the sights. So make sure that we're listening, keeping our ears open, right? That's audio awareness. Again, when it comes to audio awareness, that's focusing on it, but then also just making sure we're listening to footsteps, to ultimates, to abilities, to shooting, right? If we're not being aware of the ultimate, we can't make the decision to not flank here, or to, if we are flanking, be extra careful, because here we flank and we get slept because we didn't hear the ultimate. Or if even maybe we did hear the ultimate and we just made the decision to go anyways,
I
which
got an ego challenge there.
yeah.
I was like, a plot Anna's not hitting this sleep.
All right. So we are going to exit out here and go to the wrap up / review / kind of main points section of the session here. So we played a little bit of Widowmaker, not too much, but I guess we'll just
One shot.
I guess we'll go over Tracer and then we'll do Widow afterwards. So right here we're just gonna go over everything that we need to work on. So starting with abilities. Recall, no real problems with it. Just make sure you're not getting aggressive when you don't have it available, right? Use it as an aggression meter. Besides that, just like anytime you die and you have it available, that you can look at the death and go, okay, well, I probably should have used recall, right? Same thing with your blinks. Don't get aggressive when you don't have blinks, and if you have blinks when you die, you could have used blinks, right? That's an option. So just make sure you're not dying when you have abilities. Other than that, make sure that we're not going blink, 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 right? And then we get our ability back, and then we go blink, right? But we're especially like we're in between when we're shooting at people, that we're giving ourselves time to recharge our blinks, so that we can. When we're trying to get aggressive, we have them all available, right? So we can get aggressive, do stuff, and then get out, and then go back in when we have our abilities back, right? Pulse bombs, honestly, with ultimates, no real problems. Really, really solid. We hit pretty much every pulse bomb that we attempted to hit, and we used them at good timings. We didn't hold on to them, so really, really good ults. Mechanics, good target priority, but we're a little bit inconsistent when it comes to hitting shots. So make sure we're keeping crosshair placement, aiming head level, not aiming at feet or at bodies, because that's going to make it a lot easier to hit headshots, and it makes your default shots headshots. Make sure we're pre-aiming where we know people are going to be, right? Pre-aiming left side, right? And when we're blinking around, this is another thing to work on, is just like making sure that when you're blinking around somebody, that you're keeping people in your, like, you're already looking where you know people are going to be, right? So when we're blinking around, we're so like if for example, if we're blinking around him, right? We're doing a quick 180, right? We're blinking to the side of somebody. We're looking to the left, right? So we're already looking at them here. So we just want to get used to those quick turns, so that we can be instantly already looking at them, right?
Yeah.
So then besides that, just make sure we're focusing on it, concentrating on improving mechanics, and practice at it. Look to practice on that stuff in like FFAs and stuff like that. Now moving on, positioning and awareness, and then on top and mixed in with their survivability. Positioning, right? If we're standing this bad positioning, they can all look and shoot at us. It takes us 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover, and even if we're trying to get there, it still takes a couple seconds if we're using blinks. 1 second or 1-2 second, or like 1.5 or whatever. Still takes us time, and it requires that we're using our abilities, so it's a waste of abilities. Whereas we want to constantly be using cover. This does wonders for us in our survivability. You have a ton of different types of cover. You have stuff like that. I don't even know what I would define that. Right? You have slopes. You have pillars. You have corners. You have random objects lying around. You have high grounds. Right? So take high grounds as often as possible. Oftentimes we kind of like. High grounds are really great positioning, and we'd look to take them, but then we'd instantly give them up. So look to just keep them a little bit longer and not just drop from them 2 seconds after you get on the high ground, unless it's necessary, and try to like stay there as long as possible unless you need to drop, or you have a reason to drop. Sticking your into cover. Besides that, make sure you're sticking like kind of the sidelines of fights, not in the middle of the fights. And then don't re-peek angles, right? If everyone knows where you are and you're continuously staying on that side, on that angle, you're gonna get contested very easily. So on Widowmaker and with Tracer, after you kill some stuff, or like you getting pressured, look to reposition to a different angle, or at least pretend like you are repositioning, so we can do a fake out where like for example, like if we're up on high ground, we can go like this, where we go shoot, 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 shoot. Okay, we're getting pressured, back up, we wait a couple seconds, they think we're gone, they think we rotated, and then we just come back and shoot again, right? Besides that, awareness, there's a lot of different types of awareness. You have HUD watching, like paying attention to your health bar. I think we just needed to, the only thing with health bar is just making sure we're paying, like requesting healing. Besides that, we seemed to know when we needed health packs, so that was good. So pretty much HUD usage, I'd probably say we did really good on. So no problems with our HUD awareness. That one we did need work on. Right, you have your awareness of the kill feed. That one needed a little bit of work. Right, making sure we're paying attention to when we're winning or losing fights, and that'll dictate a lot of different things. Right, the rough thing is like 1 to 2 is an advantage or a disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a win or a loss, and no ults. And then you look to push forward or back up, respectively. Besides that, you have awareness of paying attention to where's my team, where's the enemy team in game, right? This one just is another one that we need to look to work on, right? You don't want to just kind of walk around and slow pan, right? And you want to look to, especially when you're about to push in or when you've just lost a point, is look around you. A lot of the times we end up not being aware of where our team is at, and then we push in when we don't have our team. We've done that on multiple occasions where we just would go in when we didn't have people alive, and that's going into a fight where you've already lost, right? So look behind you, do a 360 once in a while, look left, look right. Just don't keep staring straight forwards and tunnel visioning. Right? On top of that, paying attention where enemies are, right? So like, for example, the one time where Roadhog hooked us and ended up killing us when we just didn't pay attention to him. So just pay attention to where the enemy team is as well. Besides that, that is pretty much it when it comes to awareness. All of that is going to help you with your survivability. Make sure you're really concentrating on staying alive longer, as we died quite a bit, and that meant that we didn't get as much value as we could have by staying alive, right? You can be able to do a whole lot more if you're staying alive longer, so just concentrate on staying alive and doing more. But just keep in mind that I don't want you to hear that and feel like you have to go in a 180 and go in the complete opposite direction. There is a wrong way to take that, right? If you have a kind of scale between survivability and productivity. You can be the most survivable person in the game by sitting in spawn here and doing absolutely nothing, but you're not going to be doing anything, right? I don't want you to take it from the productivity side. If you're at 100% aggression and slash productivity, and you take that and go to 100% survivability, then that's going to be bad. I want you to balance it, put it more towards like 50, right, to where you're in the middle. You're being aggressive enough to do things, but passive enough to stay alive, right? Know when is good time to go in, know when is bad time to go in, right? So main points, kind of what's the order of things to work on. Probably say number 1 was going to be your your awareness, right? Slash, or probably say awareness was a little bit more important to our survivability, so I'll do awareness slash survivability here for number 1. Number 2 is coming in at ability usage. Number 3 is coming in as positioning. Number 4 is coming in as mechanics. Generally, we seem to be pretty good on that, but it's inconsistent, so we want to look to get that to be consistent. And then number 5 is just the ultimates, which honestly, really, really fantastic. I don't even think that needs to be worked on. That's just kind of the order of the things that, like, in total. So ultimate's not even really a problem, right? So,
I'm sorry, could you actually go through that list real quick? I just want to write that down.
Yep, sure thing. Yeah, so first one is going to be your awareness slash survivability. Number 2 is going to be your ability usage. Number 3 is going to be your positioning. Number 4 is going to be your mechanics. And then number 5 isn't really not even needing to work on it, is your ultimates. I just include that usually when I go through the 5 different categories. Now I'd probably say we didn't go over Widowmaker, but just on Widowmaker, I'd probably say the only thing different is your abilities is just, they're not as important. I'd probably say on Widowmaker, like if you're playing Widowmaker, abilities probably isn't your number 2. It's probably more like your number, I'd probably say it's underneath your mechanics. So that's the difference between Tracer and Widowmakers. I just say abilities is a lot more important on Tracer, a lot less important on Widowmaker. Just make sure that you're placing your Venomine, and you're sticking with your team. When you're on Widowmaker, you're sticking with your team with positioning when you're being dove, right?
Yep.
And then place your Venomine a little bit more frequently. Place it on yourself, especially like if you know there's slankers coming. It'll give you awareness of when they're coming for you. It also do some extra damage. It'll give you some. Don't scope in when you have somebody on top of you. Look to unscope shots, and then that's pretty much it. Do you have any Anything we've gone over?
Honestly, I think that was perfect. You
Yeah.
gave me some great pointers. I typically in queue I'll rewatch my most recent game and see like what I should have done differently. But having my perspective versus someone who actually really knows the game well is definitely refreshing.
Yep, and honestly, like, you don't even need a good perspective and knowing the game well to start improving. Because when I started climbing, I placed my first game ever in silver, and this is my first FPS game, and I climbed all the way to 4400 pretty much on my own, and it really takes knowing the formula of just identifying what was a mistake, what could I have done better, how can I apply that, right? And even if you don't really know, like, it helps that I understand what are mistakes and what aren't a little bit better. But a lot of the times, some mistakes are going to be a little bit obvious. Like, for example,
Yeah.
we talked about deaths, right? Big obvious mistakes, and therefore you can look to improve on those, right? And you can look to get better. And as your awareness of the game improves, you'll start to know which mistakes are a little bit more apparent, and you can look to try to catch yourself. And hopefully, this session will allow you to be a little bit more better at self-evaluating, right?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so then if you don't have any other questions, I'm going to end the recording here.